Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Quite Lovely podcast. I am your host, Riz. Last episode we did an interview with a total stranger and we talked about familial love and how your relationships and your family will influence the way that you connect with people, maybe romantically or even platonically. It was a really insightful conversation. He was very forthcoming with his emotional knowledge and really was vulnerable, and I appreciated that, especially since that was really the first time that we had talked to each other before. This episode, we are going to speak with a closer friend of mine. This is a Virgo male. Oh, forgot to mention, the last episode, that was an Aries male, so yeah, in case anyone was curious. But yes, this is a Virgo male, and it's actually the boyfriend of the very first interview that I did, the Cancer woman, who just so happens to be my roommate. Lots of strings attached here, but I'm sure you guys get the gist. We're going to be talking a little bit about what it's like to lose someone for the first time, as in respect to a relationship and going through that first college breakup, if you will. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already.
I would like the viewers to know,
Okay.
the listeners to know, I just took my cowboy hat off.
Yes.
My boots are still on. We're vibing.
It's true, we are.
I do want them to know that.
Okay. Alright, first things first.
Yeah.
When you think of Sam and love, what's the first thing that comes to your brain?
God, if it was before 6 months ago,
Mm-hmm.
shit show.
Alright, why's that?
Before 6 months ago, it was a shit show.
Okay.
In the past 6 months, it has been really good.
Good.
Like, the happiest I've been in my life. Good.
Okay, and what contributes to that?
Vivian.
And for those who don't know, that is his girlfriend.
It's true, she is.
What's your biggest gripe with love?
The initial part of it is too physical.
Okay.
Like, it's too hard to see, and, like, I guess see is both, like, literal, like, with my eyes, and, like, metaphorical with my thinking, and
Mm-hmm.
especially if, like, a large group setting or substances come into effect. It's too hard to see past the physical. And while physical is really awesome, it gets in the way of a lot of stuff. Just because, like, I can look at someone and say, hot damn, you look good, it doesn't translate into much of anything else.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that you're going to connect on a deeper level.
Yeah. And in the past, I guess, year and a half, minus the half, haha, thank you, Vivian, it's led to a lot of crap. A lot of unnecessary crap. And it's been on, like, both parts. So, like, I've been guilty of stuff and they've been guilty of stuff.
So I guess I'm not really sure if there's an age necessarily, but what time period was it for you that kind of clicked? Maybe I shouldn't put all that weight into the physical. How do you shift?
So it's I feel like it's atypical for me. I feel like generally a person, like, has an experience that is either physical, emotional, pretty early on, and it's hard to distinguish. And this is pretty typical of, like, a first love or a high school relationship. And you know, for me it was both. It was like my first love in high school.
Yeah.
And it's a large physical aspect and a large emotional aspect, and it's really hard to distinguish which is which. And both parties tend to get invested pretty quickly, and then in my case it was one party kind of realized quicker than the other that, like, this wasn't it.
Yeah.
Like, this was good, this was fun, this was in many ways healthy, but this was not where things were going. And then because of where things were going, things moved quicker than they had when things were stagnant. And in my case, I moved off to college, and I kind of realized, like, this wasn't it. And I didn't, it wasn't that someone else came into the picture. I was single for a long time after this relationship. It was more just like I realized, like, as much as the feelings I have for this person are real, and the feelings this person has for me are real, and the physical attraction is real, it isn't it, you know? And that's a real abstract statement, but, like, it wasn't it. I forgot what the question was, but...
No, you fully answered it. When you are walking away from these situations that just weren't it for you, that just weren't working, like you said, you know that the feelings are real, but did it hurt any more than you thought it would, or was it a little bit easier to transition away from that than you thought?
In that first specific instance, it hurt a lot more than I thought it would. And I think that's because it was the first, like...
You've never experienced anything like that, so you didn't have anything to compare it to.
Exactly. Like, it was both of our firsts with, with a lot of things. And I guess for clarification, like, it was not... we did not have sex. But it was our first, like... It was both of our first dates. And I'm discounting, like, the middle school relationship-y thing.
Yeah.
But, like, it was both of our first dates. It was both of our first kisses. It was, like, the first of everything. Besides sex, of course. But, like, you have that many firsts together, and... I mean, one, you're learning from one another, so the patterns develop there are the patterns that are going to keep. And two... the patterns developed there are going to build those strong bonds. And it kind of creates, like, a tricky situation, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it just builds up so much until you realize it's built up more than you intended to.
And how long did it take you emotionally to kind of move past that, would you say?
Over a year. A long time. And I don't know if I'm typical for a person or... a man or a woman or whatever. Like, I don't know. I just know, like, it was a long time. And I remember when it happened, I have, like, my sister goes to college, like, an hour, 45 minutes away, like, really close. And I was like, hey, like, it's 8:30, but I'm about to head your way. And I texted all my friends, like, hey, you're coming with me. Like, it's been a night. Like,
yeah,
we're all going. And we stayed up till 2:30, 3 a.m. And it was like, I had my people around me, which helped, but it was hard, and it took a minute to get over that. And I guess part of me is beginning to, like, realize that, like, in a lot of ways, I'm not going to get over that.
yeah. And that's really important to recognize, too.
Yeah. I've moved on in the sense that, like, I recognize that I'm going to love and be with other people, but I still think about that a lot, and I'm like, did that end the way it should? Did we communicate and behave and think and talk the way we should? Is that how things should have ended? And should is a big word there, but, like...
And, I mean, of course, you guys were so young, so there's no way for you to have known then, like... what the best way to communicate was.
Yeah, and that's the big foundational, like, piece of it all, is that, like, just because we recognize that was maybe not the best way for us, but, like, that's the big piece, is, like, recognizing, like, wow, this worked, this didn't. That's why first relationships are first relationships, you know?
Yeah.
So
coming out of that low that you were in, what was your headspace like? What kind of things were you doing to get yourself to feel, I guess, quote unquote normal again?
So that's kind of a question. So it's kind of a loaded thing, because in a lot of ways, I've spent a lot of time in that headspace up until the beginning of my recent relationship 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And it is 4 days past our 6-month anniversary.
Nice.
Clap,
Very
viewers,
nice.
clap.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. So it really was up until the beginning of my current relationship that things went this way. To give a bit of background, I don't know if you're going to share this or not, but my girlfriend was on the podcast before.
Yes.
And I haven't listened to what she said. I wanted to wait until at least my feelings were out there in a similar situation, and before we could both listen to each other that I put this out there. But like, we really started 2 years ago today. Like, today is the kind of anniversary of that. Like, and it was up until that moment that I was like kind of reeling from my first relationship, and a lot of that was my own personal choices. Like, I was on dating apps in such a method that did not yield good results. Like, there's good ways to be on dating apps that, like, you could be searching for something, but I was on it in such a way that, like, I was looking for what I could get, and what I could get was not helping me. So it kind of prolonged that process. And it was the same thing after, like I said, 2 years ago, the relationship started, and it fizzled after a couple of months. And between that time and when we started again, I was doing the same thing of trying to put band-aids on
Old wounds.
Not even old wounds, but like, yeah, old wounds, but gaping shotgun blasts. And it wasn't helping. Like, in the short term it was, but in the long term it was just like twisting a knife that was stuck in there to continue another distorted wound metaphor. And it wasn't until, like, it was a couple of months before my current relationship started up again. But like, at that time I realized, like, I'm not making decisions that benefit me. I'm not making decisions that benefit the people I'm interacting with. I'm not making decisions that do anything that I'm thinking or wanting to do. And I say wanting there deliberately twice. Like, I want to want something, but I wasn't wanting that thing, to make it super convoluted in that way. But it just kept going, you know? And I finally arrived at a point where I was like, what am I going for? And even at that point, there was a couple of, I guess, conversations or relationship perspectives put into it that fizzled out. But it eventually arrived back that, like, this relationship that had started then and that had sent me on this most recent path of spinning confusion, it wasn't dead.
No.
Like, it was very much alive. There was just things that had gotten in the way. And a lot of times I feel bad because it has denied a lot of people their opportunities and caused a lot of pain, and even my girlfriend, it has caused a lot of struggles for her. But I thank God every day that the pandemic occurred, because if it hadn't, I wouldn't be where I was, happy where I was with the beautiful, successful woman that I'm with. And that it really means a lot that we could reconnect in that way. Even in the face of
all of the disarray that's happening in the world.
Yeah. All the disarray that's happening in the world, or even the disarray in her personal life, or the struggles there. And I know, talking with her, she says she's happier now than she thought she would have been, but like, I still kind of wish she had been able to do the things she wanted to do, because looking back now, I realize that it would have come back together whether the pandemic had happened or not. But I am really grateful that it did, because that caused it to be sooner rather than later, and be more joy than struggling. So
All right. So if you have to leave these listeners here with one piece of love advice, maybe two if you're feeling spicy.
God.
Give it to them. Let them have it.
I think it's two contradictory pieces.
All right.
I think one is experience things as they happen, and two is to hold out for the real thing that's going to happen. And I don't mean like
sit around and wait.
No. Like that's kind of the point. Like, something real is going to happen. But something real didn't happen in my life by sitting around and praying or wishing or hoping that something was going to happen. And that's not to say, like, I am personally religious. Pray all you want. But something real happened in my life because I took a chance on it. And when it came back around, I realized the chance that it was, and I took it again. Second guess yourself, but don't follow the second guessing. Like, do second guess yourself, but don't follow the second guessing, you know?
Yeah. Recognize that there is that
Mm-hmm.
twinge of second guessing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to let that rule your love life.
That's right. And, I mean, it's... I'm trying to think of, like, some metaphor here. But, you know, like, I took my cowboy hat off here to tell you that, don't second guess the cattle in your herd or something. That feels sexist. I'm so sorry for saying that.
Oh, no.
But, like, really, like, take a chance. If the chance doesn't work, take another chance.
Put your boomerang out there.
That's right.
And if it doesn't come back, throw it again.
No, look. Put your boomerang out there.
Yeah. Good.
Because
You never know who's gonna catch it.
that's right. You're gonna hit a lot of wrong kangaroos before you hit a lot of right kangaroos.
Right.
And I put a
good.
southern accent on that instead of an Australian accent on that.
I
but
think
like,
it makes it more effective.
never met a kangaroo, but
And you'll find love just like that.
that's right. That's it.
All right. Well, what a perfect place to end. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
Would you like to tell the people goodbye?
Yeah, thank you for listening to me. Goodbye.
All right. Well,
Put your cowboy hat on straight in the mornings and your boots on the right feet. Yeehaw, brother.
yeehaw. All right.